Welcome to Wisdom Unleashed. It's your host, Christian McCray Stewart. Come on in, come on in. We are going to have a thought-provoking and life-changing conversation today. Today's topic, the power of your words. Oh, this is going to be good. Just think about it. Remember when we were growing up and you would hear the saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." And oh, how so untrue that was. And now we know it came from a good place. It was meant for us not to allow the words of others to have the impact on us, to get control over us. But the thing about it is, words truly do have significant impact. Also, think about it. As you were growing up, if people spoke words of affirmation and encouragement to you, it changed something about how you perceive things, how you moved forward. It was encouraging, it was enlightening, it has a positive effect. On the other hand, when people would speak negative words, whether they thought that you couldn't accomplish something or they just wanted to speak down upon you, and the negative impact that it had, like it kind of sucked the life out of you. And so we're going to get into this today to discuss the power of words, and not so much the words that others speak to us, but more us focusing on the words that we speak over ourselves, over our circumstances, over our family, to begin to see the life we desire. Now, as we jump into this, the first thing that I want to say is that scientific studies actually show the effects of words on our psyche and also the significant impact it has on the outcome of our lives in general. So there's even scientific studies that have researched this and evaluated how words impact our lives. Now, you all know on this podcast, we also are going to come from the godly perspective, right? Because God gives us wisdom. But I want to point out that what we're going to see is how not only science, but also God's words speak to this, and how we need to be mindful of our speech, how we need to be mindful of the words that are coming out of our mouth. So let's just think about it. You have John 1:1, and it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh." So before everything that we see now, there was the Word. The Word is. The Word is. The Word was. And it's so enlightening and powerful when we get to break this down, and hopefully it puts us in a position to slow down and be slow to speak. So think about it. In Genesis, what did we see? God spoke. And when God spoke, things came into creation. This is the same with us. What we are speaking, we are going to see the evidence or the fruit of that, if you will, in our lives. And so God used his words to create the world that he desired and wanted to see. That's what God did. And the thing is, that same ability, that same capability is what we have. Our words truly do shape our beliefs. It drives our behaviors, and it ultimately creates our world. This is what words do. And it's so profound when you think about it. The word goes on to tell us that life and death lies in the power of the tongue. Life and death lies in the power of the tongue. And so remember when we were talking about how people may have spoken words over you as you were growing up, and the impact that those words have. And so what are we speaking? So there is a psychologist named George Kohlreiser. His last name is spelled Kohlreiser. Now, he is an organizational and clinical psychologist. He actually got his PhD from Ohio State University. But he wrote an article back in June of 2016, and it was titled, "What Do Your Words Say?" What do your words say? And this is something that was in his article. Quote, "Use with skill Each word can contain a power and energy that shift mindsets, open dialogue, motivates, inspires other people and even yourself. Used ineffectively, words can demotivate, discourage, disengage, and in extreme cases make someone ill. Our words are powerful. End quote. Our words are powerful. Our words are powerful. So you can have words that are going to bring inspiration, that are going to shift the dynamics, that begin to help you see things in a different perspective. Or there can be words that are going to cause disengagement, to a lack of motivation, discouragement, which hinders us from then being able to accomplish what we desire in our lives. It hinders us from being able to see positive change in our surroundings. And so it begins with us. It begins with us as individuals, because we change and then everything else around us changes. And so if you're at a place and you're not necessarily seeing your life line up, you're seeing a lot of things that bring about discouragement, that are not encouraging, that don't fit with the dream and the vision that you have for your life, it's time to start thinking about, what are we speaking? Words spoken out of our mouths and the things that we think upon, they're going to impact our lives more than we may want to realize. However, we have to get this revelation. We have to get the revelation that we are creators and we create with our mouths. We create the life that we want to see. And as we are speaking, guess what? That begins the formation. Remember, God spoke and it was. So if you were to do a word audit right now, if you were to take the time and say, okay, let me evaluate the words that I have spoken over the last day, over the last week, over the month, and then just over your life in general. What have you been speaking about yourself? What have you been speaking about your marriage? What have you been speaking about your spouse? What have you been speaking about your career? What are you speaking about your children? What are you speaking into your environment? What are you creating with your words? I'll give an example. I was at a convention, I want to say maybe a year ago, and one of the speakers, they were discussing how in the location where they stayed, there was a mom, and she used to speak about her son, how pretty much he was going to die. She was speaking death over him, and he came to an early demise. And in this moment, it was one of those like aha moments, if you will. You know how when you begin to hear things and you're like, okay, how does this apply? Let me see it in real life, if you will. And not something that seems to be so theological. And it was just like, wow, do we truly understand the impact of our words and what we're speaking over all circumstances, what we're speaking over those we love? Because the thing is, we're going to encounter different things in life. Things are not going to always go our way. But this is the question. What do we speak when we face the trials and tribulations of life? What do we speak? Do we speak what we want to see? Or do we speak what we are currently seeing? Do we allow our emotions and our feelings to take over? So then that way we are speaking from a place of a defeatist mentality or the woe is me mentality, having that woe is me attitude and that nothing can go our way, things can't improve. And so we begin to speak death, if you will, into our lives and into our circumstances. And then we wonder why we're not seeing a change. We're wondering why we're not seeing the growth. We're wondering why we're not bearing good fruit. So what we need to do is change that, and that we begin to speak from a mindset of being victorious, from a mindset of being a conqueror. And so, and I want to give some practical examples for this. So for my fellow believers, you know, I'm going to bring some scriptures in here. But the thing is, and even for those who may be listening and you are not a believer, this is for you as well. This is for you, because remember when I started this talking about, scientific evidence shows how important our thoughts are, how important our words are. And so this is for you as well. But the point I want to make, there are guarantees and promises that God has given us. There's guarantees and promises that God has given us in his word. And no matter what we are seeing in the natural, what we are seeing by the natural eye, it's our responsibility as creators. It's our responsibilities as the one who is in control of our words to speak those things that are not as though they were. So even though you may not see it, continue to speak what you want to see. Continue to speak what you desire. Continue to speak the promises that are guaranteed to you in the various areas of your life. So friends, let's just break down a few. There's like 9 areas of life. The first one, let's discuss, from a spiritual perspective, your walk with God, wanting to be more enlightened, wanting to grow. Well, an eternal crown awaits you at the finish line. So keep running your race. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 24 through 25. You can read that. And so this is a promise that you have. So even in those moments where you're feeling weary, even in those moments where you want to give up, even those moments where you're feeling as though you're not growing, this is a promise that there is something that waits for you in eternity. And so you have to keep on running your race. You can't throw in the towel. You can't throw in the towel because that's a promise that you have. And so even when it doesn't look its best, even when it seems that, you're in a valley, keep running your race because you're running for the eternal crown that is there. You're running to get to the finish line. And if you keep on, God is going to meet you there. When you think about your family, and I mean, this is like when you're talking about your spouse, you're talking about your children, you're talking about your relatives. Well, here's a promise. God says, my promise of life is for you and your family. And we can look at that in Acts chapter 2, 39. The promise of life. And that's life here in the present time and on the other side. And so we continue to speak life. That promise of life is for us and our family. So even if you have a wayward child, continue to speak life over your children. This is one thing, when you're going about your day and you have people that you encounter, and people really do mean well. What we have to understand is now, as we're getting this revelation of the power of words, when things are spoken that do not align with the vision God has given you, that does not align with how you perceive your life, where you know that you are going, we have to take those words and bring them captive. We have to cast those things out. Let me give you an example. I know with my son, people will look at him and say, oh my, he's so handsome. He's so precious. He's going to be a heartbreaker. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I know you mean well. I know you mean no harm, but no, he's not going to be a heartbreaker. He is going to be a person who loves. He is love and he loves others. We're raising a king here. We're raising a young man who is going to love his wife. We're raising someone who is going to be faithful. We're raising someone who is going to treat others as he wants to be treated. So even in that moment, I know you mean well, and I'm not taking offense, but I have to cancel those words because I know the power of those words. Or when you have those encounters and you hear people talk to their children and it's like, oh, what you're doing, that's stupid. Or anything that is not bringing encouragement, that's talking down. Why would we speak those words over our children? Why would we speak those words into their lives? Because the thing is, then you continue to see exactly what you have been speaking. So when your child doesn't improve, when you see the things that kind of irk your spirit and your soul, and you're like, why is he not getting better? Why is she not getting better? Remember that word audit that I talked about? You need to do that. What are you speaking? You talk down on your spouse. Oh, she never listens. Oh, he never does anything to help me. He's lazy. He's not growing. He's not doing this. She's not doing that. And then you don't see any change. You don't see the growth. You don't see what you're truly desiring, because only thing that you have spoken is negativity. The only thing that you have spoken is death. And we are creators. We're going to see the words that we're speaking. So we want to speak life. It says, my promise of life is for you and your family. Now, ministry. God has called all of us to ministry, and how that looks is going to be different for all of us. I mean, we all have gifts and skills and all those things that we're meant to truly be out here and to reach people. But this is the thing. Here's a promise when you're in that moment and you're trying to figure out, how do I fulfill this call? How do I show up to be there for others when it seems as though I have so much going on? You know, Lord, where is the direction? And so in those moments where you may feel wayward, it says, all my plans will be fulfilled, for I knowing the end from the beginning. And this is Isaiah 46:10. Regardless of what it looks like, God knows the end from the beginning. And so you continue to speak words. It's going to be successful. I have the energy to show up. I'm going to have the right connections. Everything that you need to, you're not speaking what you see in the present time. You're not speaking what you see in the natural. You're speaking from the end. Come on, y'all. Speak from the end. What is the end product? What is the finishing product? What do you want it to look like when you cross the finish line? Those are the things that we speak. That is how we use the power of our words. So now for those, you're talking about your career or your business, or for our younger generation, you may still be in school, or our older generation who may be going back to school. This is a promise that you have. In those trying times when you got to study, or when you're trying to get the clients in, when you're trying to climb the corporate ladder, commit all that you do to me and your plans will be successful. That's Proverbs 16:3. But let me repeat that promise to you again. So when you're in that moment, you say, Lord, look, I'm committing all of this to you. I'm committing all of it to you, because I know once I commit it to you, it's going to be successful. Lord, I commit my law firm to you and allow you to direct me, because I know once I do that, it's going to be successful. It's going to grow. It's going to be in 3 different cities. It's going to be an opportunity for young lawyers to grow. It's going to be an opportunity for us to serve our communities. I commit it to you. And also in that area, remember Jeremiah 29:11. Like, this is one of my favorite verses, because it's God speaking. He says, look, I know the plans that I have for you. It's not to harm you. It's not to hurt you, but it's to give you, it's to bring you to an expected end. It's to give you a hope and a future. And so in those moments and it's just like, oh Lord, how is this going to happen? This seems too big for me. I'm encountering different things, different hurdles that are coming up. And it's just like, commit my plans to God. God said that he's going to bring me to an expected end. God says that he has a hope and a future for me. And that's what I'm going to focus on. That's what I'm going to hold on. So what about if you're dealing with something when it comes to your finances? Oh, well, here's a promise for you in Psalms 31:7. God says, I see all of your hardships and I care about your suffering. I see what you're going through. I just need you to keep on holding on. I just need you to utilize everything that I've given you. I just need you to walk into obedience. I see the hardships and I care about it. I haven't forgotten about you. Or what about this one? Oh, don't worry. I will take care of you. We don't have to worry. God is going to take care of us. The bank account may be looking a little bit shabby, but God is, don't worry. I will take care of you. You can go look at Matthew 6, verses 25 and 26 to hold on to that promise. And now let's talk about our network, because this is the thing about our network. Your network is tied to your net worth. God is going to use people. You know, as you navigate this life, as you're trying to grow, as you're trying to pursue your dreams and anything that you're going to do, guess what? It's people. It's people that God is going to connect you to. It's people who you can encounter who will open doors for you. It's people. God uses people. those connections. Those connections, they're important. But here's a promise that you could hold on into that moment as though you feel let's look like I don't know the right people. I'm not connecting with the right people. How do I find my tribe, if you will? I will cause things to ultimately work for your good. I will cause things to ultimately work for your good. Romans 8:28. And so as you go about the day to day, remember that God is working things for your good. So be in a position where you're discerning on the connections that God could send to you. Be at a posture where you have presented yourself to be approachable, where people want to interact with you and know that where you are, God will place the right people there for you, who are going to ensure that the plan and purpose is going to be fulfilled. When it comes down to our health, and when we think about health, sometimes, it's more than just physical, but think about your mental health, your emotional health. I know for my ladies, old and young, my heart goes out to us as women, especially in the place of relationships. And we sometimes don't function in wisdom or discernment. And we find ourselves just connected with people who don't necessarily treat us well. And sometimes it's because we haven't really figured out who we are. And so we begin to allow things and put up with things that we shouldn't. But with that, if whatever the health concern may be, here's two promises that I want to share. God will heal our broken hearts and mend all of our wounds. So if you are someone and it's an emotional struggle that you're dealing with, God will heal your broken heart and mend all your wounds. That's Psalm 147:3. And then for those of us who do deal with the physical health issues, my son took upon himself all your sicknesses and diseases. That's Matthew 8, verses 16 through 17. We hold on to the promises. We continue to speak these things. So yes, I go when the doctor has diagnosed and said, I have cancer, or, I have diabetes. Well, Jesus took upon himself all my sicknesses and all my diseases. By his stripes, I am healed. The power of words. And the thing about it is God is still in the business of doing miracles. God is still in the business of bringing healing to people. And I have witnessed it firsthand. God is amazing. His word is amazing. Do we believe it? And that's a lot too when it comes to how we speak. What are you believing in? What are you believing in? What are you holding as true? Then your intellectual development. The word tells us that his people perish for a lack of knowledge. And this is not just spiritual knowledge. This is not you just knowing all the Bible verses. No, in your career, there's a certain type of knowledge you have to have. In your business, there's a certain type of knowledge you have to have. As you're going through school, there's a certain type of knowledge and information that you have to take in and be able to retain so that you can pass the exam, so that you can graduate, so that you can get the degree. As long as we're living, we need to constantly be growing. We need to constantly be seeking knowledge. We need to constantly be seeking wisdom and understanding. But I love it because it says, I will always build you up and not pull you down. I will always build you up and not pull you down. And then I love it, for any of you who lack wisdom, come and ask of me. And God is graciously going to give it to us. Before that, I will always build you up and not pull you down. That's Jeremiah 24:6. So if you're in an area and you're struggling, it's like, Lord, I need to go higher in this area, but I don't have the information. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the wisdom right now. So I need you to give it to me. Because without it, I'm not going to be able to go to the next level. And at the end of the day, if we're not going forward, we're automatically going backwards. But to tie it into the way that this promise, if we're not going up, then we're automatically going down. But the promise says, I will always build you up and not pull you down. And then also let's talk about fun. Sometimes, in life, it's not just work. Like, we are intended to enjoy life. We are intended to have fun. We are, to enjoy the fruits of our labor. And so here's a promise. It's a gift to enjoy the fruits of our labor. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 12 through 13. And so if you're in that moment, you feel like, look, I'm doing all this stuff, but it's like I'm not enjoying life. Well, speak those words. No, I am supposed to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Everything that I'm doing is going to produce the result that I'm going to be able to have time to spend with my family. I'm going to have time to spend with myself. I'm going to have time that I can go and enjoy the company of my friends, that I can enjoy this life that I've been given. I wanted to go through these, and there are so many different promises. There's so many different things that you can hold on to. Speak what you want to see in your life. Hold on to what is true. Don't allow stinking thinking to begin to produce bad fruit in your life. At all times, we want to monitor our thoughts and our words. We want to ensure that they're positive. We want to ensure that they edify us. We want to ensure that they're uplifting. This is our responsibility. No one's going to do it for us. So what is your thought process? And then what are you speaking? So here, because there's a book, Words Can Change Your Brain. And this book was written by Dr. Andrew Newberg. He's a neuroscientist at Thomas Jefferson University. And he wrote this book with Mark Robert Waldman. And Mr. Waldman is a communications expert. And in this book, they discuss the power of a single word to influence the genes that regulate physical and emotional stress. And remember, I said a single word. Think about how many words we speak in a day. And a single word is able to influence us both physically and emotionally. And consequently, they opine that exercising positive thoughts can quite literally change one's reality. What? Positive thoughts can change your reality. So what your reality is today, and you don't like it, it doesn't agree with what you envision for your life, guess what? Positive thoughts can change that reality. The end of the day, we are what we think. Ultimately, what we think becomes what we speak. So we have to monitor our thoughts. We have to monitor our speech. We have to monitor the words that we allow to flow from our mouths. We want to use our words to change our self-perception and our world perception. This is what we want to do. We want to change our words. We want to use them so that we are able to change not only how we view ourselves, but how we view this world. And so this is our takeaway for today. Create the reality you desire. Create the reality you desire to see with the power of your words. You are a creator. And so what you're seeing today is because of the words that you have spoken. And if it's not aligning with the vision, if it's not aligning with the plan, if changes need to take place, then begin to change what you speak so that you can create the reality you desire to see with the power of your words. All right, y'all. And so look, with my words, I'm speaking life over everybody. In your family, it's going to be amazing. They're going to be healthy. There's going to be unity. There's going to be love. There's going to be joy. There's going to be peace. Over your business, it's going to grow. It's going to grow. There's going to be overflow. You are blessed to be a blessing. Everything that your hand touches is going to be successful. God is going to prosper the work of your hands. If you're dealing with depression and anxiety, that is not of God. No, that is not a God. I speak life. I speak joy. I speak peace. We got to change those words, y'all. We got to change those words. And it's going to be amazing. It is. And with this takeaway, don't be so quick to speak. Sometimes it helps to be silent, to process, to analyze, and then speak. And remember to do those word audits now, y'all. Go back and just really do a word audit and see. And realize the power that you have in your words to create the life that you desire to see. The life that is purpose for you. All right, y'all. If you have not already went over to wisdomunleashed.org, I need y'all to head on over there and make sure you subscribe to the email list so that you will receive information so that you don't miss out on the podcast as they are coming. And y'all, today is Independence Day. So go out and enjoy the holiday, the time off that you have from work, and just enjoy this life and practice on speaking those words to create an amazing life for yourself. Until next time, you all have joined Wisdom Unleashed.